quick video about the unknown day, the unknown hour. I hear this a lot. It's the go-to phrase for those that really don't want to talk about the rapture. So if I'm talking about the rapture, and I've been watching since 1998, and for years and years talking about the rapture and trying to talk about the rapture to folks, you get this unknown day, unknown hour argument a lot. And I just wanted to cover it because I believe it's being taken out of context. I believe it's actually the opposite of what people use it for, right? So let's say, for instance, I'm speaking about, hey, let's take, for instance, right now. Right now, we are in the season when Jesus could come back. I mean, we are in this. We are in the season. We are in the last days, so we know that we're in a time frame right now where Jesus is going to come back. He is going to set up the millennial kingdom because God gives us a clear picture of the 6 days, the 6,000 years of humanity, and then that 1 year millennial reign. That would be for another video because I want to keep this one short. But we are definitely in that time frame. So that 2030 time frame is that end of that 6,000 years and the end of the 2,000 years since the crucifixion. Well, when I mentioned like next week is a probable date, it is Tish B'Av, the 9th of Av, that's coming up July 26th, 27th of this next week. And if I mention the rapture could happen, there's folks that are going to say, you can't know the day or the hour. And the reason they're using that, it's not because they're trying to say we don't know the day nor the hour. They're using that as they're using it as a way to say that, hey, you say the rapture's coming. We don't know the day nor the hour, so that means I can just go on with my life like nothing's going on and nothing's happening, and I don't have to worry about that. I need to just go on. I'm going to go on about my business. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm not going to prepare, things like that, right? So, and then there's the other side of the coin where the other folks will use this as, you don't know the day and the hour, so you always have to be prepared. So like they use that as an excuse. They're not really prepared. They haven't really told their friends, their family. They haven't literally told every single person that they know. They haven't prepared for those that are going to be left behind. They have not taken those extra steps, but they'll say, well, we don't know the day nor the hour, so we always need to be on guard. We always need to be expecting Jesus to come. I have some consternation about that because of the fact that, I've been watching since 1998, but I also knew in 2000 and 2005, 2010 that Jesus wasn't going to come back because there was a lot of things that had not happened and we were so far away from the tribulation that I knew it was not going to happen. Because see, you can't just have a rapture and then years and years and years go by before the tribulation, because there's a lot of people going to be saved after the rapture, even in the tribulation. So, the church would build right back up, and then God's going to then judge the church. He's not going to do that. The rapture will be in very close proximity to the tribulation. I used to think that there was a time frame between those because I didn't think we would see the setup that we're seeing now. But now that we're closer to it, we can see it a lot more clearly. But what Jesus was actually saying, he was not saying to use this as an excuse to not pay attention, to just go on about your life because no one would know the day or the hour. Let me see. Let's see how he uses it in context to Noah's day. He says, "But of that day and hour no man knoweth, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Look, he is using this as, first he gives you an example, saying, guys, no one knows the day nor the hour in which, the rapture of the church, this promise that I've given you to come back and receive you to myself. No one knows when that's going to be but the Father only, and I'm afraid if you're not looking for that, then it's going to catch you unaware, and you're not going to be ready to go. You're not going to be saved. Your family's not going to be saved. Your friends are not going to be saved. Judgment's just going to come, and it's going to catch you unawares. Just like in the days of Noah, it caught them off guard in the day of Noah, right? In the day of Noah, they were eating and they were drinking and they were marrying and they were giving in marriage, and they knew not until Noah entered into the ark. And they knew it not until the flood came and took them all away. But here's the thing. And he's saying it's going to be exactly like that when I come back. Whenever I come for this promise to receive you unto myself, it's going to be just like that. People are just going to be giving in marriage, and they're going to be eating and drinking, and they're not going to be paying attention to the signs of the times. They're not going to be paying attention to what I told them, and they're just going to be in judgment. And that is happening today. And what he's saying is he's not saying use this as an excuse not to do anything and just to go on about your daily life, or use it against everybody that is watching. He is actually saying, hey, you need to be paying attention, because, the fact of the matter is, in Noah's day, God had already gave to the prophet. He said when Methuselah dies, then judgment's going to come. Noah was preaching. He was building a boat. He was building this huge boat, for a flood that it had never rained. I mean, that story had gotten everywhere, to all people. They just weren't paying attention to it, and they weren't seeing it, and it came and took them away. So what does Jesus say to do, right, to prove this point, right? He says, because of that, he says, watch. Why would he say to watch? Watch, therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would have not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore, be ye also ready. For in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man will come. So, look, he's saying you need to watch. You need to be paying attention. You don't need to be like those folks back in Noah's day that couldn't see the writing on the wall. We're not listening to the people that were, they weren't listening to Noah. Noah was a watcher. He was given that. He was told it was going to happen, and he was telling people, but they weren't listening. Because think about this. I like the terminology that Jesus uses here when he says, if the good man, if the guy that's going to church today, or the righteous man, the one that believes in God, but, if he would have known, if he would have been paying attention, if he would have been thinking, hey, my Lord could come back today. My Lord could come back next week. He would have watched, right? He would have watched. He would have been paying attention, so that, he wouldn't have suffered his house to be broken up. So what he's saying, if that righteous man would have been paying attention and been thinking about when Jesus was going to come back, he wouldn't have suffered his house to be broken up. One of his kids to not have known the Lord, like maybe one of his older kids that have passed the age of accountability, or his wife to not have known the Lord, or his brother or his sister or his coworker. I think that people use this in the wrong way. I think that there are people that will know when Jesus is coming, or at least, there's a lot of them that's going to get it right? Like I'll say, hey, he could come next week on July 26th. Well, there's a lot of things that point to the fact that he may come back next week on July 26th, right? But I can't tell you that for sure. But I also can't tell you for sure he won't. So wouldn't it behoove us to be a good man and be watching? Because if we're watching, so if I'm a good man and I'm thinking, hey, somebody could come break into my house tonight, and I'm up and I'm watching, I'm going to see them coming, and I'm not going to let them break into my house. So just like this, if I expect that Jesus could come, I'm going to watch for him. And if I detect or see him coming, or know that there's a credible day that he could come, then I'm going to be watching. And when I, in faith, believe that Jesus is coming next week, possibly, right, I'm going to make every effort to prepare for that event. So, how do I prepare, right? There's things called rapture kits where you're leaving something behind for those folks that are coming after us, where, we put things around the house. You put a track on your refrigerator, you have a whiteboard, and you put something on the whiteboard that says, hey, we knew this was coming. Here's Jesus in the clouds. Here's us going up. It's the rapture. It's not aliens. Hey, here is some provisions I've left for you. Here's some scriptures that you should take a look at, because this is what happened. Leave some videos. Anything that you can do, we need to prepare. We're in a high watch time each year. Between July and about mid-October is a high watch time for Jesus, especially over the last 4 years. I believe in the last 4 years, 7 years, we've entered into the window, but most certainly in the last 4 years. And we now, we've never had this before, but now we see the possibility of the 10 kings from Daniel. In Revelation, we also see a possibility for the covenant that was shared in Daniel, the covenant with many. We see this on the horizon. We see a possibility of a start of the tribulation, which means that the church will exit before then. So I encourage you, don't use this. No man knows the day or the hour. The context in which Jesus was using this was to say, because you don't know when, or because you won't know when if you're not paying attention, you need to watch. Therefore, you need to be watching. You need to be expecting. You need to be taking action. And if Jesus does not come on the date that we think, right, on a time or a feast, right, that we think, and that is why this period, if I'm going to keep rambling on, and it's going to be not what I wanted to do with this video, but the reason why this is the high watch time is, there is a Feast of New Wine that comes up next week on the 9th of Av. And the reason it goes all the way through October is Jesus fulfilled all of the spring feasts with his crucifixion and resurrection. And so he's also going to fulfill the fall feasts and maybe summer feasts. And so we need to be watchful during this time. And so that's why we're watching. But we'll watch, and if it doesn't happen next week, we'll move to the next watch time, which will be Feast of Trumpets. And, happy day. So let's keep watching. Let's keep praying. Let's prepare for those that'll be left behind.